Welcome to my world where all is well. I am the thinker who thinks the thoughts that create the things. Today is Tuesday, December the 6th, 2022. It is 15:2800 hours. I am a former law enforcement officer who has been diagnosed with PTSD, social anxiety, and depression. Making these videos and talking about what I'm going through has been very therapeutic for me, and I hope that it is of an encouragement to you or anyone else who may have the same diagnosis that I have. The thoughts that were running through my mind today is the pandemic didn't change God's promise. These past couple of years we've been dealing with something known as a pandemic, but the pandemic is not bigger than God, and it's not bigger than God's promise. God is still sovereign. God is still sovereign, even though the pandemic might make you feel sick. The pandemic might make you feel struck. The pandemic might make you feel like you are struggling. Because a lot of us have been stuck in our homes. A lot of us have been struggling. A lot of us has been sick. I caught COVID once. And this was after I've been vaccinated, but before I got boosted. But God is still sovereign. God's promises are still sovereign, and the pandemic didn't change God's promise. God, even though I got sick, guess what? God promised healing, and guess what? I got healed. Even though I felt like I was struggling through the pandemic, guess what? I survived. God's promise was still kept. God is always in control. Now, God doesn't always take control, but God is always in control. God is always in control of the universe, of us, of what's going on. God is in control, but God doesn't take control. God does not take control of what I eat. God does not take control of what I see. God does not take control of what I hear. God does not take control of what I choose to breathe in and breathe out. God gives us free will. He gave me free will to figure out how I'm going to deal with the pandemic, or if I'm going to deal with His promise. God is in control, but He gives me free will to choose what I allow to control my life. Am I going to allow God's promises to control what I eat? Am I going to allow God's promises to control what I see? Am I going to allow God's promises to control what I hear? Or am I going to allow the pandemic to control what I eat, see, and hear? I'm focused on the resistance to this vaccine, the resistance to that the pandemic has caused this economy of ours. But guess what? God is focused on the results. God does not stand no resistance to any medicine or your white blood cells, your red blood cells, or any other type of resistance. Because God knows the end result is God's promise will always win. So that's what I should be focused on, God's promise, not the pandemic. You know what? And we can breathe our way back to peace. For the last couple of years, most of us have been breathing in the pandemic. So in my thoughts today, I was like, if I can breathe in the atmosphere of a pandemic, I can breathe in the atmosphere of peace, of a world of peace. So I'm choosing to breathe in God's promises, and I'm choosing to breathe in peace and forget about this pandemic. But one thing that I found out that I can still do through a pandemic is I can still prosper through a pandemic. Yes, I can. I can still progress through a pandemic. And I can still plan during a pandemic. The pandemic gives us time to plan our progression to prosper. And that's what all of us should have been doing, taking advantage of this pandemic and planning our progression to prosperity. I know some people got the vaccine, some people didn't, but God can do what the vaccine can't do, and God can do what the vaccine can do. God gave the scientists the wisdom, the knowledge, and understanding to create the vaccine that we needed to prevent us from dying from COVID-19. I really do believe that. Some people believe that the vaccine is the mark of the beast. I've heard all types of stuff. But if that's what you believe, if that helps you to be satisfied and your reasoning not to take the vaccine, then God bless you. I have nothing against you, but I chose to take it and listen to the experts and the scientists who I believe have way more wisdom and knowledge, understanding in vaccines and diseases and viruses and bacteria than I do. But don't allow this pandemic to keep you from the promised land. Just because you're going through a pandemic, don't stay in the wilderness for 40 years. Don't allow this pandemic to keep you at pause. Don't allow this pandemic to say, okay, well, I couldn't find a job before the pandemic. Now we in a pandemic, so I know I can't find a job now. So now that the pandemic is sort of over or over with, or however you want to say it, I'm still going to be stuck at not having a job because I'm allowed the pandemic to keep me from the promised land. Because now I got used to being stuck without a job. Please don't allow that to happen. Please don't. That's not good for you. It's not good for the economy. It's not good for your descendants. And it surely ain't good for taxpayers. Okay? Unless you are disabled or elderly. If you're an able-bodied person, and then do what needs to be done to feed yourself. Please do, and thank you. And just tell the pandemic to let your people go. That's what I told the pandemic. Let my kids go. Keep my kids, my family, my parents free from the illnesses, which they call COVID. I don't know if we can say COVID-19 on YouTube. Well, the C word. To keep my family and friends and loved ones, even the people I don't know. I mean, I don't wish this illness on anybody. I really don't. I've seen what it can do. I personally know people who have not survived it. So I don't want anybody to get stuck with this illness. But you know what I found out throughout this pandemic also is that God is unpredictable. But God is always consistent. God is. God will always be God. God will continue to be consistent and to be God. But what I can't do during this pandemic is predict what God is going to do or predict what God is not going to do. We can't predict who God is going to choose to heal on this human side or who God is going to choose to take with him. I remember when we lost Rance Allen. He's a gospel singer during this pandemic, and other people. I was like, wow, why take him? He has a great voice, but God is unpredictable, but God is still consistent. God does what he do, what is best for all involved. And I say all involved, I believe that God does what he feels is best for all of his children involved. You have more than one child. I have 3 children. I'm not going to do something intentionally that will benefit my first king but be detrimental to my second and third king. I'd rather not do it at all. And that's how I look at God, how he look at us. I'm not going to do anything intentionally to detriment one child but can be a saving grace to my other kids. I'd rather not deal with it at all or do what's best for all involved. When I, let's say, go grocery shopping or go to this shoe store or something to get something for my kings or something, I can't see myself coming back with something for one king and not the other 2 kings. I want to do something that is good for all involved. If I don't have the money to get them all set to separate, I'll buy one thing that I know all 3 of them will like. All 3 of them like hot Cheetos. I don't like hot Cheetos, but for some reason all 3 of them like it. So I'll buy all 3 of them a bag of hot Cheetos to share. Just teach them how to share, and it's something that's best for all involved. And that's how I believe God does things. And some people, I heard on the was it on news or YouTube? I can't remember. Somebody saying that they have never been in this much pain. Oh yes, it was a sad situation. It was a mother who lost her child. She was saying, I have never been in this much pain. And I can't imagine the pain that would involve or bring. But the thought that came to me is, God, I have never been in this much prayer. You know, if you're in that much pain, you know, sometimes you're in so much pain you don't have the wherewithal or the consciousness to fall down your knees and pray. That's when people like me or other people who are surrounded by you, who love you, should be in as much prayer as you are in pain. If you hear someone close to you saying, I have never been in this much pain, then your appropriate response should be, I have never been in this much prayer. I'm going to be praying for you as much as you are in pain. You know, there's a backstory to every blessing. Blessings are wonderful. Blessings are beautiful. God can bless you with a brand new car, an increase in your bank account. But there's always a backstory to that blessing. Okay, you don't just wake up one day. Well, most people, I don't think I ever have, just wake up one day to $1 million in my account without me praying. So if I want that much prosperity, then I'm gonna have to have that much prayer. If I want to help a friend of mine alleviate pain that she has never been in before, I need to be in prayer like I have never been in before. I don't know if that came out right, but my brain knew what I was trying to say. And you know, the pandemic, they were saying it had caused a lot of delays in different situations, but I believe there were divine delays. Divine delays. God is still in control, but God is unpredictable. The pandemic did not destroy or change God's promises. It's a divine delay. A divine delay is not a denial. It just means whatever it is that you was trying to do that got paused. I know some people was trying to flip houses and the pandemic caused it to be on the pause. But this delay has now given them the opportunity to continue to flip this house now that the pandemic is somewhat settled. And now they're able to get or ask for more money for that house that they was trying to flip than they would have pre-pandemic. And I also believe this pandemic has caused people who were ready for a promotion but were not ready for the pressure that a promotion would cause to study and research and prepare themselves for this promotion. Some people got promoted right before the pandemic and were concerned about the pressure that they was going to have with this promotion. But when the pandemic came, it paused all that. So during this pandemic, they were able to prepare themselves for the pressure that their new promotion would bring them. So that's something that's good, that I feel that God's promises were still kept during a pandemic. I've had a conversation with God, and God has not revealed the final destination of my conversation. I have a conversation with God, like, God, this is where I want to be. This is what I want to do. I want to travel. I want to do this. I want to do that. How am I going to get there? God has not revealed to me yet the destination or the route to how I'm going to get to where I want to be. I have these conversations with God, and I truly believe God is listening and responding, but I have not received the destination to how I'm going to get to where I want to be. But knowing that God knows, and knowing that God's promises will be kept, and knowing and believing that God wants what is best for me, and God wants me to have what I desire, then my faith is in knowing that even though I don't know what the destination is, based on the conversation that I had with my God, that He's going to reveal the route when He feels I'm ready to proceed in that direction to my destination. And the pandemic has also given me a season of preparation. I know someone who have had the opportunity to prepare themselves for promotion, but this pandemic has given me a season to prepare for my increase, to prepare me for these YouTube videos. Years ago I said I wanted to do this, start a YouTube channel, and finally one day I said, you know what, even if I'm gonna wait till I have everything that I want to start this YouTube channel, I'll never do it. So I said, I'm just going to start and I'm going to be consistent. Those are the only two things I want to do right now on my YouTube channel. I want to start the videos, post the videos, and just be consistent. If I do those two things, I believe I'll be rewarded, and then I'll be able to get the lights and the software and the microphones that I need. And I'm going through a lesson. I'm going through the YouTube Academy, and so I believe that sometimes God has to give us a lesson before we receive the blessing, and that's how I'm looking at this. Also, I'm taking this as a way to learn the lesson of what I need to do or what I need to know to grow this YouTube channel, so that when I do get my 1,000 plus subscribers and when I do get my 4,000 plus viewing hours, I will know how to handle it and how to keep my blessing. Because some people become multi-millionaires. I don't know how much money I will receive from YouTube for doing this, but I don't know personally, but I've read stories about multi-millionaires getting blessed with these millions and then losing it. So I'm taking this opportunity to prepare myself. I'm looking at index funds and ways to invest my money. I literally have notes that I've written down of what I'm going to do once I become a multi-millionaire. So when I get the money, I won't just you have to plan your purpose. If you don't plan it, and then once you reach your purpose, it'll be difficult for you to keep your purpose. Okay? So plan for it, so once you get your prosperity, you'll be able to keep your prosperity. Okay? That's what you need to do. And and the way that God performs, sometimes it don't meet my expectations. Like, okay, God, what are you doing? Okay, God, why do I have PTSD? This is not in line with what my expectations was. How am I supposed to reach this level in my career with a PTSD diagnosis? But you know what? This diagnosis was a blessing, because instead of doing what I felt like I had to do in order to make sure me and my children are fed and probably taken care of, I'm in the process now of doing something I feel like I'm going to love to do, to take care of me and my family and my children. And that's another one of God's promises. It didn't look like a promise at first, not at all. I was horribly depressed. I was like, what is this? Who gets fired while in the hospital? I don't know anybody who that has ever happened to. If you do, let me know. Reach out to me, let me know. And you know what I stopped doing during this pandemic? I stopped looking for a miracle and started realizing I am the miracle. I am a miracle. Literally, I am a miracle. It's a miracle. We are all miracles. It's a miracle. We wake up every morning. We wake up every morning to a brand new day. We don't wake ourselves up. There's nothing you can do to say, hey, I'm going to wake up tomorrow morning. Hey, I'm not going to wake up tomorrow morning. Like, you can't control or decide whether you are or are not going to wake up tomorrow morning. That is all in God's promise. Whether that's God's promise to you, God's promise to your parents, God's promise to your kids, or whether it's God's promise to your friends or loved ones nearby. All I'm saying is there's nothing I can do or say, because God is in control. God is unpredictable, but God is always consistent. God is, and God is always in control, but God is not always in control of what we do. God does not always take control, but God is always in control. And don't forget to pause. If you have not done so already, pause during this pandemic before you go back to so-called life as usual. I don't know if life will ever be the same. I like the social distancing. I really do. I like the wearing the mask in public. Now, I personally don't feel it should be mandatory for people who can't or don't want to wear it for whatever reason. But I have no problem with it. I don't have to breathe in you. You don't have to breathe in me. I could just focus on breathing in God all day, everywhere I go. I don't have to worry about feeling the odor of marijuana, smelling the odor of cigarettes, or the odor of anything else. But pause. Take a pause. And think about what you have survived. What you have planned. What have you progressed through? What have you prospered through during this pandemic? And realize that God will either give me what I need, or God will teach me how to live without something that I thought I needed. I thought I needed my driving privileges, my driver's license. But God is teaching me how to live without my driving privileges and without my driving license. And I'm doing okay. I realized I got 2 great feet, and I'm so grateful I can walk wherever I need to go, and that's a blessing. That is a blessing. I can walk. And guess what? If tomorrow happens to start without me, God has already prepared me. I'm prepared for whatever God's promise is for me. Now I want to live a long life and prosper in every area of my life, and be here for my children, my grandchildren, and my grandchildren's children. That's my plan. But I surrender my plan to God's promise. Now God has promised me prosperity in every area of my life and long life that I'm satisfied with. So that's what I'm looking forward to. But I just want you to know, if for some reason something happened where tomorrow starts without me, or I'm not promised tomorrow, I'm prepared. I am. I don't want to leave my 3 kings, especially my 3rd king. No, I want to be here for them and with them. But I realize some people, and we're all the same. We're all each other. But there are a lot of people who wanted to wake up tomorrow, today, yesterday, who did not. And it's not, we might feel like it's not fair, it's not right, it's heartbreaking. But that's why we always have to be prepared. You always have to make sure we're in fellowship with our Creator, with our God. Okay? Thank you for joining me in my world where all is well. I'm going to do my serenity prayer now. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you for joining me in my world where all is well. You have a good day.